On to now the NFC West breakdown, because this will be the first of the 8 divisions that we talk about. Here we go.
NFC West breakdown. We're going to start off with, I think, the team that I would say everyone loves to just automatically put them in the Super Bowl. No, they're going to be really playoff talk. The 49ers.
I called my shot last year, and I think with the Cowboys, similar for the 49ers.
49ers are sitting at 10.5 wins on the season, which I think is pretty high for the season they had last year.
They have this is only based on, obviously how good the teams were last year, but they have the easiest strength of schedule in the league. But honestly, looking at it, there's some tough games from teams that improved. And
their division is also nothing to slouch about as well.
They're all around the same level in that division, with the Rams obviously being like the clear best team, I think. But other than that, I think all of those teams are really even. I think, especially after the moves they made this offseason.
Yeah, and to quickly go down the list, they obviously extended Brock Purdy, George Kittle, and Fred Warner.
That's a lot of money tied up into 3 guys.
I think George Kittle is top 2 tight end in the league.
Probably the best.
Probably honestly. One of the best when it comes to pure tight end. Yeah, he is pretty funny. Fred Warner,
best linebacker
in the league. I would say I'd put him up there. And
then Brock Purdy.
I don't really know.
Borderline top 10?
Top 10? Don't really know. I know there's top a lot 15. Of Brock Purdy slander and haters out there. I think he's a good game manager. He's not going to be a Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson with the X factors that they have.
Nope.
But he's a game manager. And we've seen that over the past couple of years. The big guy who I think not a lot of people are talking about the effect of what they're going to see is the departure of Deebo Samuel.
Oh yeah.
And I know
Ayuk is recovering from an ACL tear as well.
But Deebo Samuel though, regardless if what you think about him,
Army knife.
He was the guy though. Even you had to worry about him.
Oh yeah.
When you were playing the 49ers, you had to game plan around him.
Motions and
And now you kind of don't have that. Nope. And I know they can maybe come out and find a new guy to play that Deebo role.
Maybe McCaffrey plays more because he is a receiving back.
But even that though, you want to put extra stress on him after some of the injuries he's had the past couple years.
Yeah, that's true.
So to me, I would say Deebo Samuel, we're going to see not a production, because yes, there is a production level to where you're going to have to make up for all of his yards somewhere and all of his catches, but just the pure threat that Deebo had when he was on the field is, I think, what we're going to see the biggest, downside or this offense's, ability to move the ball the way they have been the past couple of years. So that's what I would say my biggest take is for the 49ers.
They still have enough on offense, but they've had a lot of turnover on the offensive line. They lost a guard, they lost a tackle. I think their center is new, and so Trent Williams is still there, getting older, but Pooney, their right guard, those are the only 2 that I think are staying from last year. So it's really new. And then obviously, Ayuk is recovering from an ACL injury. McCaffrey hasn't been healthy. Ricky Parasol's injured. I like Juwan Jennings a lot.
Yeah,
I think.
But even
Kittle's
him though,
good.
I think he was successful because of all the attention that the other guys on the offense got.
He was the only healthy guy for a while too.
Yeah.
So he's good. But I'm not going to say he's a clear-cut
You're
wide
going
receiver
into
one.
this going, we got.
He's your wide receiver 1 going into the year. Juwan Jennings is.
To me, that's not.
No. They had a shit ton of turnover on the defensive line. They cut.
And the secondary.
Oh, and the secondary. Yeah, they lost Hufanga. They lost Dre Greenlaw. And then, Javon Hargrave, who they signed to a huge deal like 3 years ago, cut. Malik Collins, another defensive tackle, cut. Linebacker, edge rusher, Leonard Floyd, cut. They did try. So I see the vision. They're trying to get younger. And, they do have a lot of age in some important positions. So, they drafted the Georgia defensive end, Mykel Williams. They drafted, I think, this guy's from Texas, Alfred Collins, and then another linebacker, Nick Martin. And then they traded Deebo. So the 49ers are going to look really different. But I don't think it's a good thing. I honestly don't have them making the playoffs. I think 10.5 wins is way too much for them. Realistically, I think like 7 or 8 maybe.
Yeah, I think 10.5 is too much. I do think they could maybe, I don't think they're going to win the division.
No.
I do think they could squeak in to get a wild card because historically this division is known for getting at least 2 teams in the playoffs.
Well, and their strength of schedule is,
Yes.
like we said, I mean, obviously it's going off of how good the team was last year or the teams they play. But looking at it, I mean, I have the link. You look at it, it's easier. It's definitely there, but
yeah, the 49ers, it's going to be interesting in a very competitive division. Next team though, I want to talk about Seahawks.
This team changed.
This team changed a lot.
Completely.
I didn't, they fired some guys where it was like, dang, they were only there for 1 year and it wasn't a terrible season. You're already I like the Cooper Kupp signing. If he stays healthy, it seems like we're always saying, that every year with Cooper Kupp. After his Triple Crown year, it's always, well, if he stays healthy, he can do this. And I said it last year. If he stays healthy, he's going to be this.
Yeah.
I also really liked the Sam Darnold. I do. I know people are going to maybe say that's crazy, but it's not. I mean, it's a really hard thing to be consistently good as a quarterback in the NFL. Yeah. And yes, everyone has recency bias of what they did when they made it to the playoffs, but I still take in consideration what he was able to do in the regular season to win. They won 14 games last year?
That's 14, but they did have the coach of the year with them.
This is true.
Kevin O'Connell, probably a top 3 play caller in the league. So you had obviously your defense too. I mean, Brian Flores, another top 3 defensive play caller too. So I can't say that Sam Darnold is going to be good with Seattle because, one, they just hired a new offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, who hasn't been an offensive coordinator recently. He's been like a passing games guy, and he's had a few years of being an offensive coordinator, along the lines. But, I mean, they're going to look really different, like you said. I think Cooper Kupp is a good signing for them if he's healthy, but I think the most important part is Jackson Smith-Njigba, who I think is going to eat in this offense if Darnold plays good.
Yeah. And then on top of their defense is still really, really young.
Their secondary is
great.
And they just drafted the South Carolina guy, the North Dakota State, the guard, Grace Abel. Not a sexy pick, but a great pick.
Who said he was gonna what type of ranch? He was gonna make like a cornfield or corn ranch or something like that. Yeah.
Bought a farm with his first contract.
Yeah.
They took the Miami tight end too, and then I think shocker of the draft was when they took Jalen Milroe, which, I mean, he's going to sit there and develop. He may even see some time this season. So it's realistically, I think the Seahawks are right around where they were last year. Honestly, I don't think they're going to get better. I think it's just kind of.
And I think their over under is set at a decent number. If I was making it, I'd probably say 7.5, but 8.5. Betting purposes, that's gives it what it is.
I couldn't see them finishing above 500. I think it's 8 and 9.
I just don't see them winning 9 games.
I
think they're going to be better, and I think Sam Darnold is going to be good. I do take in consideration everything you said with what he had in Minnesota, but I don't think they're going to be a just god-awful, terrible team to watch. If they're on Sunday night, I'm not even turning on the game.
No, the offense is going to look good. I think because, I really like Kenneth Walker. I like Charbonnet. Obviously, they traded DK, but still got Cooper Kupp, still got Smith-Njigba. And so you've got guys, and you just got to see it. And I think the defense, they signed DeMarcus Lawrence too, who's older, but that's a really good veteran presence. They'll have some, they were really hurt last year too on the defensive side. So if this whole division really has a big benefit of having an easy schedule, looking at it, they play the NFC South and the AFC South. So they get the Texans, Jaguars, Colts, and Titans, and then the Falcons, Bucks, Saints, and Panthers. And that's 8 games that 8 games that are pretty favorable for you right there. At least besides, maybe the Texans and the Falcons. Yeah. But then, and then you don't even have division player, the teams that finished in the same spot as you. 8 wins. I think 8 and 9 probably is where they finish, not making the playoffs. But onto your team.
Yeah,
onto your team, Dawson.
This one got me a lot of views last year for when I said the Rams were going to be the
number 1 seed.
Hey, you're pretty damn close. They weren't the 1 seed, but they were playing like the 1 seed.
They also almost beat the Eagles in the playoffs to go to.
If it wasn't snowing, God knows what happens.
Yeah, the Rams, 10.5 wins. I think this one's more valid than the 49ers having 10 and a half
Oh my God.
wins.
I think they go over 10.
I think Matthew Stafford is getting old. This could be his last year or one of his last years.
Yes, I would agree with that.
The Devontae Adams signing to replace Cooper Kupp, that's going to be interesting to see because Cooper Kupp did so much on the interior work where I don't think Devontae Adams is going to be willing to do that. He's strictly going to be either in the slot running a route.
Puka will be in the slot.
Puka will be in the slot, so they still have him. But Devontae is just a completely different receiver than what Cooper Kupp was. So that's going to be interesting. But it's also to see Sean McVay now have arguably one of the best receivers to play in our generation of football. That's going to be fun to watch, to how he gets him open, the plays he runs for him. So that will be cool. But the Rams, though, they still have that very young defense that they had last year that they drafted. They drafted again really good on the defensive side. They've got the one spot on that offense that I think they were truly missing to where injuries or just being old was tight end. They draft the Oregon tight end.
Yeah, Terrence Ferguson.
I really I don't think I'm going to say that the Rams are going to be one this year, but
they finished like 11 or 12 wins though.
The Rams, I think, are my division winner for this division.
By far. I agree with that 100%.
Over Seattle, over the 49ers.
Yes.
We haven't talked about the Cardinals yet, but we will.
Cardinals are an interesting team.
I like the Rams a lot for just the pure fact of also their coach.
Oh yeah.
Their coach 100%. To me has proven that they know what they're doing.
Yep.
Even when they don't have all the talent or all the, skill set that you would think a team to go out and win 11, 12 games, win a division would have.
Yeah.
I like Sean McVay, and I'm going to trust him.
Oh, I agree, definitely. And I think it's very telling that they really didn't they really didn't do much in the offseason. They didn't change much at all. They re-signed Stafford, Tutu Atwell, and then Alaric Jackson, their left tackle. But other than signing Devontae Adams, and then they went and got a defensive tackle, Poona Ford, that was it. Like, they really didn't do much else. And they had, I think, 17 undrafted free agents to fill out their roster after the draft because they didn't have a first-round pick again. But this division is the Rams to lose. It really is. I think I'm looking at the O-line. I mean, their skills position players, now that they have Terrence Ferguson as well. If Stafford's healthy, this is one of the best teams in the league.
I could also see Jameer Alexander from the Packers, who just got released.
Oh, Jair Alexander.
Oh, yes. And I could also see Jalen Ramsey coming back to this team. So there are two
and they already
players
have a decent secondary. Yeah. So it's really
there are two players out there who I think that could elevate that defense even more and just be a role player for an already kind of old veteran team.
Yeah.
So I like those two guys maybe being on the radar of. I know we've mentioned maybe the Ravens, maybe the Rams make a lot of sense for those two guys.
Oh, they do. And I think Jalen Ramsey and Jair Alexander would be dumb not to consider them. Thinking about everything they've done.
I would, especially if you're trying to just win and you wanted to win a championship, win a division, win whatever.
Yeah,
I'd be looking at the Rams.
Realistically, the least amount of games that the Rams win is 10. I think they're going to be up like 11, 12, 13 wins. If they're healthy. Obviously, all of this depends on staying healthy, but this is one of the best rosters in the league, I think.
The last team, the Call of Duty players themselves, the Arizona Cardinals.
This team is interesting. You were not giving the team much credit before we started filming, but this
interesting team. The Cardinals go into the fact of they have the quarterback they pay the money to. Yeah. They have a good running back. They have a young defense. And it's like, well, you beat the Rams and then you go lose to
it's the same story.
A terrible team. It's the same story every year. It seems like it's just always a bunch of excuses. Yeah. I think Marvin Harrison is really going to have to show that he
bulked up this offseason too.
And I think he will. I think he's a great receiver. I think, a year under the system, a year with Kyler Murray, it will be better. Yeah. I think McBride is a really, really, really good tight end for that team.
They've got a decent
how many catches and yards did he have without having a touchdown last year?
Like damn near 100.
So I think McBride,
like 1,300
McBride yards. Could be a really, really good fantasy tight end just for that, to where the touchdowns, it always kind of swings to where if they don't have a lot, they do. If they do have a lot, it kind of slows down. So I think McBride, fantasy purposes, will be an awesome target. But the Cardinals, to me, again, they had a good draft. They had, they were able to kind of get Will Johnson late in the draft.
And their focus this offseason was defense. Complete, like they revamped the defense. And I think getting Will Johnson in the second was great for them. Considering they also took that the Ole Miss D tackle, Walter Nolan, who I thought was a dog. But their first 4 or 5 picks were all defense. And then they signed Josh Sweat from the Eagles. They brought Calais Campbell back as a veteran presence. Dalvin Tomlinson, another veteran presence. So I think what they were missing last year is a lot of that veteran, honestly, what they went and got. Yeah. And so the O-line's decent. I like Budda Baker a ton. Yeah, he's still back there in the secondary. So I think outside of Will Johnson, though, I think your corners are very, very questionable. So I don't see them being obviously the best team in that division, not even close. I think the Rams, but I think they could be fighting for that second or third spot up there with the Seahawks and the Niners. I don't see them being worse than the Seahawks or the Niners. I think, like I said, they're all around the same level, and then the Rams are up here.
Yeah,
I think 8.5 wins for the Cardinals. The league seems to think so as well.
It's going to come down to whoever wins those close division games.
And they always are close in that division.
But they also are never able to kind of close it out.
No,
they've just never been able to win those close games to where, hey, you have the ball with 3 minutes left, you have to go down and either tie it or score, and they just don't do it and they lose the game.
Yep.
So to me, it falls under the same category as my team is. You gotta kind of show it now. You have the receiver, you have the good tight end, you have the quarterback. You're paying all this money to
as well.
So cool. Let's do it now.
Yep.
And you have a good division. You're gonna have to put together some wins against these good teams. I want to see it. And if I do see it, the Cardinals on paper, like you just said, are very good, and they have the pieces for it. Got to see it.
Yeah.
That's what I always go back to.
Yeah.
And we haven't.
So I guess final NFC West questions. Obviously, I think we're all decided who wins the division. I think we're all
I'm gonna go with the Rams for now. Everything is subject to change just because injuries and who all that goes into it. I still like the Rams though.
I would say the Rams. And Chris,
I got the Rams.
Rams. I think it's an easy pick for this division. It will be much harder for the other divisions that we talk about moving forward, but. Yeah, the Rams, I think. But how many teams make the playoffs? I am really on the cusp of saying it's just one team from this division.
I could definitely see with kind of the coin flip that the 49ers are, the Cardinals are.
Just how good the NFC has gotten around elsewhere.
That I can see 2 getting in from this division. Because like I said, historically, there's kind of always been 2 with the 49ers and the Rams. And, if the Cardinals squeak in there because they have a good year. So I could see 2 getting in.
I know the Rams are making it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, whoever wins that they're going to make it. But if the Cardinals have a good year, I could see them. The 49ers, because the 49ers are going to be, the typical 49ers that I think we're used to seeing.
Easiest schedule in the league, too.
That, too. So I would not be surprised if there was 2, but I also would not be surprised if it was just the division winner because of how you said how the NFC has just gotten very competitive.
The NFC has gotten a lot better. I think the NFC East has 2 or 3 teams, so that alone, and I think the NFC North has 2 or 3 teams, and that already leaves you 2 spots. So it's going to be so much fun, and the NFC West is an interesting division. They are always competitive, and realistically, the winner of that division is always a coin flip. It
always feels like it comes down to the last game of the season.
Always. And so, final division standings. I think we're all in agreement. The Rams at 1.
Rams at 1. I'm gonna say, gosh, I'll flip a coin. I'll say the Cardinals are 2. 49ers 3.
But they're all gonna have 7 or 8 wins. I think.
Yeah.
And maybe one has 6.
And it could flip on a dime depending on who beats who in some of these head-to-head games.
I'll give you a hot take. I think the Niners are the worst team in that division. I think they finished last. I think Shanahan gets fired at the end of this year. I think it's got to be one or the other. They just paid Purdy, so they've got it. If you're committing to him, you can't say that he's now at fault. So bye-bye Shanahan.
That's true.
I think this is exactly what happened to the Cowboys last year. I think 49ers are crumbling. They're going to be the worst team in that division. I think it goes...
And that would be something.
Rams, Cardinals, Seahawks, Niners. That's what I think it's going to finish as.
That's funny, Dylan. That's exactly what I've got as well. I'm putting the Cardinals at 2. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs at 2. No. But I have them at 2. And I I have Seattle above them, and I think the 49ers will finish fourth in that division.
Yeah. It'll be a lot of fun to watch. I can't wait.
Those division games are always also a lot of fun to watch. Especially the Rams versus the 49ers, even the Cardinals versus the Rams is always
all of them.
All of them are great.
All of them.
Great. Well, that's going to wrap up our first division. What are we calling this?
Our division breakdown.
Our division breakdown of the NFC West. Next week, we're doing the AFC West next week? Are we going to do that?
I have the list. Hold on. We can list it out. So, yes, next week is the AFC South. So, we will be talking about, we'll probably have AJ on the show. We've got Colts, Texans, Jaguars, and Titans. And then the NFC East, another fun one. And then AFC North, NFC South, AFC West, NFC North, AFC East.
To wrap up R2 at the end.
Yes.
Good deal. Well, we hope if you have any predictions, I know, again, like, all this is so contingent on injuries, and it is early, and it's fun to talk about. But this is football, and this is the fun part of predicting all these different outcomes.